Hey everyone, it's Alexander Robinson. Welcome to the channel, and this is my review for The Exorcist Believer, the latest legacy sequel from David Gordon Green and Danny McBride, the same team that gave us the Blumhouse Halloween trilogy. Much like with the 2018 Halloween sequel, this film is a direct sequel to the original Exorcist film from 50 years ago, directed by the late William Friedkin. And the movie is basically about two girls that get possessed this time. One of them is the daughter of a single father whose wife was unfortunately critically injured while she was pregnant, so they ended up saving the child, but they couldn't save the wife. And the other girl is a daughter to two very religious parents, and it's essentially about trying to cure these two girls from this horrid curse. So here's the part of the review where I once again admit I've never seen this classic film before. I have never seen The Exorcist, but The Exorcist is one of those movies that's so legendary and so iconic that even without seeing it, you know about it. And the reason I've not watched this movie is because it's been labeled as the scariest movie ever made. And even though I've embraced a lot of horror the older I've gotten, I still have avoided The Exorcist because of that reputation. For two reasons. One being the literal reason that it's been quoted as being the scariest movie ever made, but also because it has that reputation, I don't want to go into it and then leave disappointed that it wasn't terrifying. But you know what? Next year. I actually considered reviewing The Exorcist as part of this year's retro Halloween reviews, but I already had my list filled out, but I will be reviewing it next year. You have my word. So now I'm going to have to review The Exorcist Believer from somebody who has never seen any of these movies before. And I know some people might stick their nose up at that concept, like, oh, you haven't seen the original, so I can't really take your opinion that seriously. I shouldn't have to be bound by what came before to see a movie. Like, I shouldn't have to read the original book before seeing a film adaptation. I shouldn't have to read a prequel comic in order to understand what goes on in this movie. I shouldn't have to watch a TV show that ties into a movie to understand what's going on. I should be able to watch a movie as its own. And thankfully, with The Exorcist Believer, is such a standalone, mostly, that I can view this as its own. And as its own, it is awful. Like, it is really, really bad. If you want my opinion on what the worst legacy sequel I've seen is, I think The Exorcist Believer may be it. I never saw Netflix's Texas Chainsaw film, so I heard that's pretty bad as well, but this is worse than Jurassic World Dominion, which, again, I went off on last year, but looking at this in comparison to that legacy sequel, this legacy sequel doesn't seem too bad by comparison. And it's a shame because this movie actually started off with a bit of potential. The main characters are a single father and daughter who are very close together, especially considering, as I mentioned before, the mother is killed. And what happens in the beginning of the movie when the mother is pregnant and the father has to make this difficult choice, that can really hit hard. And when his daughter eventually gets possessed and he's worried for her life, that should have been something. But the characters themselves are just kind of flat. Like, the acting's not too bad, but the characters are just so boring. The two parents of the other girl who gets possessed, on the other hand, don't really offer that much. By the time you get to the end of the movie, the father does something that's so stupid and so selfish that it just made me roll my eyes. And I think that was what the ending was going for, but the execution just so didn't work at all. And that's the second biggest problem with this movie. It had a lot of interesting ideas and the potential to actually be creepy, but the execution is just so poor. I like the idea of having several religious leaders from different backgrounds come together to basically fight this demon that's possessing the two girls, but the way it's handled, it just doesn't feel suspenseful, you're not really that engaged, and there's some unintentionally funny moments which should not happen at all in one of these possession movies. The biggest problem with the movie, though, is how it tries to tie in with the original Exorcist film. They bring back Ellen Burstyn from the original Exorcist. She played Reagan's mom, and in this movie, she has nothing to contribute whatsoever. Like, she's maybe on screen for about 10 minutes. She just delivers exposition. And the way she's taken out of the movie, not killed, it would be funny if it wasn't so insulting. It's just really sad to watch. And again, I never saw the original Exorcist, but I've seen so many legacy sequels that bring in the original cast members, and sometimes they're treated well, in my opinion, and other times they are just flat out wasted. This is the worst offense when it comes to bringing back the original cast in a legacy sequel. At the end of the day, if this was just another run-of-the-mill possession movie, then I could just be like, well, it's not good, but you know, it's what it is. But the fact that this is a sequel to the so-called scariest movie ever made, and the fact that it tries to tie in with that previous movie, is inexcusable. I have also not seen any of the other Exorcist movies, but I feel like The Exorcist is looked at the same way people look at Jaws. People don't talk about the sequels. I mean, I like Jaws too, but there's a reason why nobody seems to credit the sequels. It's always this original classic horror film. And also there's a reason why nobody has attempted to make a Jaws 5. Although me saying that, I probably gave a Universal executive the idea to actually make the true Jaws sequel, which you can blame me for that if that ever comes to fruition, because this movie came out on the 50th anniversary of the original Exorcist. We're only 2 years away from the 50th anniversary of Jaws. I better stop talking before this becomes a reality. I will be nice. Because I haven't seen the original movie, I will say don't waste your money on it. I feel like had I seen the original movie, and I will, I would probably bump this rating down to burn in hell. So right now, I'm being generous. This is really one of the worst movies I've seen this year, and it's just so bad. Like, it's not even worth your time. And there you go, that's my review for Exorcist Believer. I hope you enjoyed it, and now I want to know what you guys think about the movie. If you've seen it, what did you think? Whatever the case may be, let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell button to get notifications. You can also follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Letterboxd, Threads. I'll see you guys in the next video, but until then, have a good day, and take care of yourselves.